Welcome to Tessery, a podcast by Tesseros. Here, we're learning in the workshop of everyday life. Small adjustments, simplified workflows, creative ideas explored instead of ignored. Each episode, I share real stories from home and work as I experiment with technology and AI, not to chase perfection, but to build systems that support what actually matters. We're interested in growth that feels steady, the kind that strengthens resilience at home and brings clarity to our work. Because when our systems support us, we create space for the things that shape us. I'm glad you're here to help build this mosaic. Let's place the next piece. Welcome back. We often talk about building resilient systems, tools that are supposed to give us our time back. But since the last episode, the messy reality has hit hard. Between a house full of illness and a complete tech black hole, we have not moved forward nearly as much as we would have hoped. Our Google Minis went down, and that's a big challenge for us because we use them in a lot of different ways as a functional part of our household. For those who might not know, Google Minis are a voice command tool. And so the kids use them for help with spelling and information. I use them for information, setting multiple timers because I do a lot of cooking and baking. And then little things like what's the temperature outside? Our game server glitched. Our bank deposit got rejected because one of two systems randomly changed how the account was numbered. And so while the numbers were right, dashes got added and got to be another thing we got to deal with. We changed our internet hosting provider and randomly got an extra bill that we weren't supposed to have. So it felt like there was a lot of things that were beyond our control that became our responsibility to solve. And I call that the maintenance tax, that high price of time and mental energy that we just have to pay to keep ourselves existing. And it's incredibly hard to feel a sense of agency when you're spending an entire day or week or multiple weeks resyncing your past instead of working towards the future that you know you want to accomplish. And one of the things that I tend to do when I start to get very frustrated with things that aren't working is I pivot and do something different. And so for me, as we've been trying to get things back online and working again, we kind of prioritized between either most fun, most necessary, or easiest to solve. And we've been picking away at the different problems. But the other thing that I like to do is having something tactile. One of the things that I've always found a little bit of a struggle with a mostly online environment is that when you walk away at the end of the day, you don't have as much to show for it. And I remember being younger and being, watching America's Got Talent and going, oh, these people have such cool skills that they get to show each other. And I build spreadsheets. So, as I've continued my journey, I knew that I wanted to grow and expand my skills so that at the end of the day, I feel more self reliant, but also ideally, my brain and my body are both a little bit tired. And I feel like I have a little bit more to show for what I've been doing. And one of the things that I've wanted to learn for a long time was how to sew. I was very fortunate that I got to grow up and have a strong relationship with my great grandmother. And Grandma Gigi had a sewing table that was in her hallway at her house. And one of the items that joined my household eventually was this sewing machine. And I've had it for years and I've got it threaded a couple of times. I know vaguely how to run it, but there's no sewing classes around me. I don't have anyone directly around me that sews. And so starting this process has always felt a little bit overwhelming because I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to troubleshoot it. And my particular sewing machine is so old that trying to find video support isn't really helpful. And the projects that I've wanted to do also feel overwhelming to start because my long-term goal would be that I want to learn how to sew clothes that fit me. I can't find the quality I want. I can't find the fit that I want. And so I want a very specific thing that just doesn't seem to exist these days. Um, But I finally had a smaller scale project that I could try. I wanted to put curtains in my office. And so sewing straight lines feels not so overwhelming as trying to sew curves. And so I finally got my sewing machine threaded, I got my material cut, and I was able to use Gemini as that sewing guide that I've been afraid that I didn't have. And so I got my machine all set up, and there was some weird stitching, like the back didn't look smooth and nice. And I was able to take a picture and go, what do I do? How do I start fixing this? And it gave me the answer in 2 seconds. And so it was really cool because I finally finished sewing these curtains that I've wanted to do forever. And it was such a nice kind of relief of all my tech wasn't working, but I have this and it's done. And every time I come into my office, I see the curtains that look exactly like I wanted them to look. And it's really fulfilling. Another thing that did work was we were playing with Suno AI, and they have this lab area where you can spin a wheel and it plays all different kinds of music. And so my 5-year-old and I were playing and spun the wheel, and Cloud Rap Slush Wave came on. And he goes, "Whoa, I love this." I was like, "Really? This is the one that you like?" "Yeah, I like that one." Okay. So we spent the next while making Suno AI songs about Ruby houses built by miners and Cloud Rap Slush Wave. So that part was a lot of fun when we stopped trying to focus on getting everything working just how we wanted and could just enjoy the moment. Um, that was a lot of fun. And one of the things I do find interesting sometimes when you are working with or playing with kids is just how different they view the world. Sometimes as an adult, we have such big expectations on how perfect we want everything to be, and it's got to be just right. And young kids don't have that. So as I was finishing my curtains, the 5-year-old said, "Wow, I really want to do a project too." And we had some extra red soft material because we were going to make a pillow at one point and didn't. And he said, "I want to sew this into a blanket." And I said, "Yeah, sure, we can do that." And so we got the thread switched over to the red thread that matched. And he did one straight line down and said, "Perfect. My blanket's complete. It's ready for my room. Can I have it?" I was like, "That's a blanket?" "Yeah, this is my blanket. I love it." "All right, absolutely." And those little moments really make you pause and go, I put such high expectations on myself that maybe if you could just step aside a little and really appreciate what you've done. I'm about 90% done with a project I've been pouring myself into for work. And that's where this feeling of like a finish line mirage sets in. And the feeling you're so close to the end of a project and you start questioning the entire direction. You look at the work and go, what am I building? Is this even what I wanted? Do I just scrap it and start over with another idea? And one of the things that I realized I was suffering from was the lack of a time metric because I didn't start tracking. I didn't have a real good way to see the weight of my progress. And I was looking only at the gap to finish. And in that space, this drift started to move in where I was starting to feel like my 90% completion was going to be 100% failure. And so trying to work through that, I went over to Gemini and ChatGPT and used it as a reflective mirror. I gave it my worries, my notes, my doubts, what I was trying to accomplish, and I got it to work with me to like really hone in on what was my own thinking. And I didn't need it to give me new ideas, but I needed it to help me find the ones that I lost. Why was I doing this in the first place? And was I still achieving that? And the AIs helped me to strip away that noise and get back to my initial kernel, the original pure intent of why I started in the first place. And that brought me back the realization that you can't adjust the flow of a system that isn't running yet. And the goal right now isn't to pivot, it's not to re architect, it's to finish. And once we've finished, It's very easy to shift it if we need to, but if we never get it done, we can't move forward. So, whether you're sitting at a 75-year-old sewing machine or training an AI model to be your partner in just how you want, the principle is identical. You have to follow the source instructions to the end. Questioning the direction at the finish line is often just a form of friction we create for ourselves. It's a defense mechanism to avoid the vulnerability of being done. Because once it's done, it's out there, it's real. And you don't need to reinvent the world midstream. We just need to clear a path so that we can cross the line. And if the kernel you started with is still there, just buried under a bit of dust and a few rejected bank deposits, you can get it back. So here's your mini challenge for the week. Identify one project where you're feeling that finish line mirage, the one thing that you're tempted to quit or pivot because the end feels blurry or your maintenance tax has exhausted you, and spend 5 minutes documenting a time metric. Not a list of what's left to do, that'll stress you out. Instead, just record the pieces you already placed. Write down the hours you've invested if you can, the drafts you've written, the problems you've solved, and look at that time mosaic and let the weight of the investment remind you why the kernel of this idea mattered in the first place. You've done the work. Just go finish. Thanks for listening to Tessery. If this episode sparked an idea or helped you forge a new path, we'd love to hear it. Tessery is built by community. Send us your questions, feedback, or stories about how you're using AI and other technologies to simplify your life. Email us at hello@tesseros.com or leave a review on the app where you're listening right now. And if you know someone who's looking to craft their life a little bit differently, please share this episode with them. You can find all episodes, show notes, and extras at tesseros.com/tessery and subscribe through your preferred podcast app. Until next time, keep placing the pieces that matter.